Nasty Nork, you get shot up into the air, and what allows you to do is go out of bounds, kill him from underneath the floor, and then die in the lava to skip the credit.
Oh,
so
dang!
It's like pretty crazy.
Welcome one, welcome all to your guide to speedrunning Spyro in 15 minutes or less, presented by GEICO. I'm Digon.
And I'm Emma. Today we're diving into Spyro 1, the OG Spyro, originally released on September 9th, 1998. Spyro made quite the splash, selling 5 million copies worldwide and cemented its place in the hearts and minds of gamers the world over. Here today to help us dive into the world of speedrunning Spyro, thanks to our friends at Games Done Quick, is God-tier speedrunner Chris LBC. Welcome, and thanks so much for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, can you give us a breakdown on how Spyro games made their way to the speedrunning community?
Well, I started in like 2013, and at the time, there had been people who've been speedrunning it, but it really hadn't been broken open quite yet. So it was like, at the time, actively, it was like me and Tuval playing, and like a few other people that were playing. And then Tuval and me just went kind of head to head, and just, he would get a PB, I would get a PB, and eventually we just kept bringing the time lower and lower and lower. And then Tuval just started breaking all sorts of other games too. So he was definitely a pioneer as far as the early days of getting Spyro on the map, just like giving interesting things to watch. Yeah. And like as the years have gone by, as like, you know, I've ran on GDQ quite a few times, like the community has just grown and grown and grown ever since then.
As you were kind of, because as you say, you were at like the advent of Spyro speedrunning, as you were going through and sort of trying to develop different ways to speed run the game, what was sort of your approach to it? Were you looking for glitches in the game? Were you looking for optimal routes?
I wasn't really a routing person. Tuval was doing a lot of the routing, and then I would just like look at what he did and just try to do better. And like I would just work on like really tiny optimizations to the movement. So like I've never really been a person to find new stuff in games or like new routes. I think I just like playing and trying to optimize what other people have found, I guess.
Yeah, well, there's no shame in that. And certainly like as Spyro has grown in popularity as a game to speedrun, there are multiple ways to go about it. What would you say are some of the most sort of popular ways to go about speedrunning the game, and who are some of the top record holders?
There's like two main categories, like 120% and any percent. 120 would be collecting everything in the game. As far as that, it's just dragons, eggs, and gems. So you got to collect those. Any percent, there's a specific requirement for each balloonist, which is like the home worlds, like artisans, peacekeepers, matchcrafters. So each world, you got to collect a certain amount of things, and then you get to progress to the next world. So those are the two main ways that it's played. And there's actually like what started out as kind of like a meme. It's called Vortex.
Okay.
Essentially, you enter a cheat code to unlock all the levels. So the goal of the category is to go into each level and exit through the vortex, like the return home portal. So that has actually been becoming a lot more popular nowadays. So those are basically the three main categories, and there's some other ones like cheat percent and 80 dragons, but mostly those are not many people play it.
Oh, why is that? How do you end up deciding like which one are going to be the routes that are like, hey, this is what accepted as the main ones that people are going to compete in?
I think it just really comes down to like speedrunning as a whole. Any percent, just like beating the game as fast as possible with, you know, whatever is available to you. Like, and 120% is like max completion. So those are usually like the two main ones you'll find in video games. But really, I think it's based on what the community wants. So like if a lot of people are doing like this side category, then maybe it does deserve to be like a main category, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say are some of the sort of fundamentals as far as speedrunning Spyro goes?
Well, as far as that goes, there's quite a few like little techniques and speedrun tricks that are involved. One of them is definitely flame charging. If you get close enough to an enemy or a chest, you can flame and then charge really quickly, and it'll automatically have the gem home in. So like that's a really big one. It's used in countless spots in the run, saves so much time. Another one that's very subtle is called charge gliding. So every time I jump and then glide, I'm not actually just jumping and gliding, I'm jumping and then I'm charging and then gliding. So it kind of, it gives you less height loss, because usually when you glide, it like
you kind of...
Right.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there's the release of Spyro Reignited came out. So what are the big differences between Spyro and Spyro Reignited?
Really, they're just two completely different games. They built it from the ground up, and as far as they wanted to say, like, oh, we're making it exactly like the originals, you know, there's obviously some nitty-gritty stuff that they just kind of missed. And one of it was, like, they wanted to make a uniform, like, kind of movement, right? But Spyro 1 has very different movement to Spyro 2 and 3. So what they ended up doing is, like, when you charge jump in the game, you get way more height. So it just trivializes, like, all of the jumps and, like, the difficulty that used to exist.
So you would say that Spyro Reignited maybe doesn't feel quite as rewarding to run as OG Spyro.
Yeah, and then there's also less of the nitty-gritty stuff like flame charging, charge gliding, all those, like, small things that give you a little extra boost over other people just aren't there. So it's just a completely different experience.
Yeah. Enjoyable game, but maybe not as fun to speedrun. Now, I want to know, what is your current best run time in any Spyro category?
Well, my best run in 120 is 1 hour, 23 minutes, and 26 seconds, but my best in any percent would be 38:31.
Wow.
And I would say that my any percent run is by far my best run. It has been beaten. It was the world record for about 2 years. It was quite a long-standing record, but Deo Man came out of nowhere, and he's been crushing the game. He's gotten the any percent record, and he had the 120% record up until like a couple weeks ago. Saboom took it back, so I've just kind of fell behind as far as they're concerned. They're just like really, really good, and I'm pretty good at the game, I would say, but I think they're on like another level.
You'll get it back. You'll get it back. Okay, can you explain to the audience proxies and let us know some of the more popular proxies?
Okay, well, there's two different types of proxies. There's a squeeze proxy and an animation proxy.
Okay.
Squeeze meaning you're getting squeezed between like maybe like a corner and an enemy, and then an animation would be if an enemy like lifts his head up. Like Nasty Nork, he kind of dips his head down, and then we charge glide into his head. He lifts his head up and shoots Spyro in the air. So, and then another popular one is Mama Proxy in Clifftown and any percent. You get stuck between one of the mamas stirring the soup and the wall, and then you get shot up in the air. It's pretty cool. One more proxy. Sorry. Rat Proxy is like a new one that people thought was not RTA viable, but now Deo Man has done it many, many times in his world record and all the runs that he did up to that date too. So that one's really cool.
Yeah.
And how do you use those proxies? So that's what happens, right?
Yeah.
That's the interaction. What is the utilization of that in the run?
So a good example is Nasty Nork. You get shot up into the air, and what allows you to do is go out of bounds, kill him from underneath the floor, and then die in the lava to skip the credits.
Oh,
it's like,
dang.
It's like pretty crazy. Because normally you'd have to watch 3 minutes of credits.
Right.
Nope.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're doing real time, cutting out 3 minutes of credits.
That's a huge deal.
That's huge.
Exactly.
Now, you've brought up how like you were at the forefront of it. Now there's this new generation of runners that are kind of taking the lead now. What else about this community of speedrunning Spyro makes it so special?
I just really think that it's a very cooperative and friendly community. Like over the years, I've just made countless friends in the speedrunning community in general, and I just felt like ever since the start, it's just felt like a really great community to be around. Like, you just meet a bunch of great people, everyone works together, and like you make friends. And like I stuck with it for so many years because I just felt like I was in a good spot. Like, I was hanging around people that were great people, and I just liked being there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Who knew that going as fast as you can would make friends that would stick around forever? Hey, huge thanks to Chris, LBC today for sharing their experiences and giving us some tips and tricks and history on Speedrunning Spyro.
Thanks for being here, Chris.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been
All right.
a pleasure.
I've got to try using those proxies in Spyro immediately. I'm so inspired. I know we learned a lot today. Thanks for watching your guide to speedrunning in 15 minutes or less, presented by GEICO. And remember, GEICO, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.